What's up, guys? So it's been a long time since I've done a Q&A, and I thought it would be fun to reach out to you guys on Instagram so that you guys can ask me questions and of course answer them here on YouTube. We have quite a few, so without further ado, let's go ahead and start with the first one. Jorge Escotos is asking, FX3 or Blackmagic Pyxis? This is one of those questions that's very difficult to answer because it really depends on what your goals are. But I'm going to answer it a little bit different because you're asking me what camera system would I pick. So I'm going to rephrase this because Evan actually asked me yesterday, Armando, if you had none of these cameras, like everything was stripped away, which camera system would you buy? And I immediately answered Sony FX3. So the reason why I would pick the FX3 is because it's so versatile. I can shoot a movie with the FX3. I can shoot a wedding with the FX3. I can do a little mini doc. I can shoot a small commercial or a big commercial. I can do anything with the FX3. I can use autofocus with the FX3. I have access to all of Sony's E-mount lenses, which are incredible. I can use PL lenses. It's such a small compact body. I can build it out. It's just way more versatile than the Pixis. It doesn't mean that the Pixis is bad. This camera is incredible. In fact, we shot some of the most amazing stuff back in Montana when we did this like a month ago, and this camera is just epic. But again, if I'm strictly only shooting movies and filmmaking, this is probably a better purchase. But if I want just an overall great camera, I'm always gonna be picking the FX3. David's Filmmaking is asking, how do you color grade your videos? So I use Adobe Premiere, but I do things unconventional. And what I mean by that is I have a color calibrated monitor and I don't color grade using like scopes or anything like that. Like if it looks good to me and my eye, then like I'm going with that. I'm not looking at other stuff. And the reason being is because so many people are gonna be watching my content on a phone, on a television, and so many other ways that it's like, it doesn't matter if it looks good on my monitor because somebody could be looking at it on a monitor that's not gonna look good. But I will say, I do have a custom LUT that I built with a colorist that basically allows me to drop that into my footage, and it doesn't matter what camera I'm using, whether it's Blackmagic, Sony, Fuji, Panasonic. Like it's a really great starting point and it allows me to just make some like minor tweaks and I can get a really solid image. So like if you're interested in like taking a look at that LUT, I'll leave a link down below in the description. LeFlar Lens, sorry if I'm butchering that, asks, would you use cine lenses when filming a fast moving doc? I would definitely use cinema lenses just because there's so many options out there. I especially like right now I'm in love with these Arles Primes. They're just amazing, but we now live in a world where there's LiDAR technology. I'm not sure if you're familiar with DJI's LiDAR system. I actually did a video on it, but yeah, this thing just works amazing. It doesn't matter if the subject is moving fast, whether we're filming cars. I mean, this thing is just awesome. So I would just say definitely experiment, especially if you have something like this. You can go between autofocus and manual, and again, it works amazing. Victor is asking, I love Canon, but it's so expensive. Is it worth switching to Lumix? And I'm gonna say yes. Canon is definitely very expensive. I made the switch like 5 years ago. I switched everything to Sony and I haven't looked back. Yes, I know Canon has a C80 and the C400, but like you mentioned, they're so expensive. Lumix, on the other hand, their stuff is so inexpensive and they give you so much value for your money. If there's a company that you gotta watch out for in 2025, it's definitely gonna have to be Lumix. Check it out. I mean, like the S9, I know this camera got so much hate, but this camera is just, I mean, it's a beast for its package, right? Then you have the GH7 that has RE-Log C3. So all these things like RE-Log C3 on a mirrorless body doesn't even exist. And Panasonic, Lumix, they're freaking crushing it. They're doing things, again, 2025, if there's a camera brand that you wanna invest in terms of like gear, I would probably pick Lumix over anybody right now. Kyroflix is asking, what camera should I upgrade to in 2025, currently using Sony A73? So you have a Sony A73, which tells me you are already part of the Sony ecosystem. And it tells me that you are also a hybrid shooter because you have an A73. So if I was to pick a hybrid camera right now, I would probably say A7R5. I use that camera probably second to my FX3 a lot because of the photo capabilities. Now, if you're only strictly doing video, I would say get a Sony FX3. I mean, I always tell people FX3 is probably the best camera that Sony makes for the money, video, in terms of video wise. Some people would argue FX30, to me it's still the FX3. Now, I will say, if you're willing to wait, I know a lot of camera manufacturers during NAB release new cameras. I'm not saying that Sony's releasing a new camera, I don't know anything like that, but I will say a lot of manufacturers do that, so unless you're in a hurry, get the cameras I suggested. If not, I would wait till after NAB. Next question, what new low-cost gear addition surprised you the most, in a good way, this year? So low cost can be subjective because are we talking about things under $100, under $500? Also, what may be low cost to somebody could be high cost to somebody else. So I will say there was one piece of gear that really surprised me. I consider pretty much on the lower cost, and that's the Polar Pro VND PL. This is the Chroma edition. And this thing is awesome because it's a VND filter that also has a polarizer built into it. So what I like about it is a lot of times like VNDs have like this cross hatch and it just kind of shifts the colors. Well, the polarizer kind of helps neutralize that. So you're able to get like nicer skin tones. I'm a person that like sweats a lot, so I have like really oily skin. With the polarizer, we're able to cut all those like highlights and stuff like that. Also reflections from windows and cars. So this is really awesome. It really surprised me. They also make, which actually this is, the mist version. So it adds a little bit more halation to it. So all these three things crammed into one, and we pretty much use this all the time. Now, before I answer the next question, I do want to thank Artlist for sponsoring this Q&A. And I've been using Artlist now for some time, and I really love all of the music that I've been finding, not only for my YouTube videos, but also my personal projects. Now, something new that Artlist added to their website is a LUT library that allows you to easily find the right LUT for your project. Just select from the sample footage that matches best your aesthetic, and then from there you can use a slider to preview what each LUT will look like. Now, these LUTs were actually crafted by expert colorists, so you're able to get some really great results. Now, I actually downloaded these for myself to try out, and I was really impressed with the looks that I got. So one thing that Artlist does, and they only do it once a year, is they have a holiday sale. And guess what? It is happening right now. So if you use my link down below in the description, you will get 2 months for free and also 10% off their max plan. So if there's ever a time to sign up to Artlist, it is definitely now. So make sure you use my link so you guys don't miss out on that deal. I am Rick Bonilla is asking, what are the steps into getting commercial work as a filmmaker? The steps that I would take to get commercial work is I would start making spec ads, because spec ads is a really great way to really flex your cinematography and show people like what you're capable of doing. Now, I understand that spec ads require funding and money and they can be very expensive. So if that's not an option, then the second thing that I would do is I would look around like local shops, maybe a donut shop, restaurant, or even an auto shop, whatever's around you, and go ask them like, hey, I'm a filmmaker, let me shoot a commercial for you for free. Like, it's not gonna cost you anything. Like, use that as a stepping stone. And then next thing you know, let's say you shoot a commercial for a donut shop, and then that person has friends and they see it online, and then it like becomes a snowball effect. That's really the best way, in my opinion, to start getting commercial work. Also, tagging along with like other filmmakers and creators. Oftentimes, like sometimes I'll ask like some of my group of friends, like, hey, do you have anything going on? Like, let me jump on your shoot, and like just gain more experience doing something like that too. JD Films YC is asking, best gear release of 2024. So I spoke about it earlier, and that's the DJI LiDAR autofocus system. Just being able to use all of my manual focus lens and being able to have autofocus, because oftentimes we don't have the luxury of having a crew. And a lot of times I resort to autofocus because it's like, it's just gonna be the easiest. It's just gonna, like, we're gonna be able to run quickly with it. Well, now that's not even an issue anymore, because now we can use these beautiful lenses, have autofocus. And so far, this has been like the most exciting tech gear, filmmaking gear of 2024 that, like, if I had to buy it again, without a doubt, like, this would be my #1 thing. Matthew is asking, what do you want to see in a Lumix Flagship full frame camera? I'm gonna say the same thing when Blackmagic released the Pocket 6K camera, and that's, we are tired of these like amazing, incredible video cameras that are housed in this photo style body, these hybrid cameras. Like, I understand the point of a hybrid camera, but we shoot video and they do video really well. So give us a video body. Like, that's exactly what the Pixis is now. Like, the Pixis is such an incredible camera now because it is now in the form of a video camera versus like this photo style camera. This is why I gravitate towards the FX3 so much, because it's focused more on video rather than on photo. So if Lumix can give us an S5 and a video style body, holy smokes, they would crush it right now, because that's what's stopping me from using that camera so much nowadays, because I just don't like the body and I don't want to like shoehorn things. Like, look at this. Look at my build out. Why? I built it out because I'm gonna use this for video, not for photo.